Sonic Frontiers seems to be making a more serious attempt at telling a deeper story within Sonic games, one that will not lightly brush over details and that expects the players to be interested in what it has to tell. Trailers for the game have shown that looking for answers as well as Sonic's friends is going to be one of its major selling points. We know that Sonic will have some form of amnesia, though to what extent still remains unclear. All these pieces come together to create a game that sounds like it will have some darker elements to it, for how can you go more serious if you're not going to include more controversial aspects? This is a scale, but the inclusion of dark themes to any extent will trigger some scarring memories for certain Sonic fans, as unfortunately as it is, the series does have a negative reputation of whenever it has tried to be dark and serious in the past. Though it's important to stress that dark and serious, whilst overlapping, are not mutually exclusive. Other modern Sonic games have tried to have serious stories. Frontiers will not be the first of the Boost games. Obviously, Unleashed itself had a rather serious and debatably dark story to it, though that was quite some years ago now. More recently, Sonic Forces attempted, keyword attempted, to tell a serious story that did delve into some dark elements. However, that was a complete flop for many reasons, but to list just a few would be that it couldn't commit to those themes and tones. It was joking in very inappropriate places, terrible acts with seemingly inconsequential responses. Additionally, even Sonic Lost World, to a lesser degree, and very jarringly, tried to have some darker, more serious stakes to it as well. Of course, Frontiers has taken new writing staff, including the veteran of Sonic writing, Ian Flynn. So there is a clear attempt to interject some talent when it comes to writing stories that are not wholly light-hearted, which is a good sign. But this should bring the reasonable question up to the forefront. Is having a darker tone inherently bad? The quick answer is no, it's not. But the issue is that by having a darker tone, by taking it more seriously, you're leaving yourself more vulnerable for criticisms and you're going to highlight your mistakes more. When you have nothing to lose, when you consider yourself a clown, any mistake just adds to the act. That's very much what Sonic Boom did, and in my opinion what a lot of the 2010 Sonic became. Especially if you look at how social media officially portrayed itself. It was a very self-referential, jokes at your own expense sort of atmosphere. However, Frontiers is trying to go back to a time where the stories, as ludicrous or mundane as they may have been, were trying to tell a genuine story that did take itself seriously, for better or worse. Ultimately, each person will have a different limit to what they would consider to be too edgy. Personally, I feel that based on what we have seen, Sonic Frontiers will not become a edgy game. It may have less jokes than the other recent games, but I'm confident that humour will find its place, just being toned back a bit. Big the Cat's inclusion, for example, is something that I wouldn't associate with edginess at all, and is clearly for some form of comedic or light-hearted relief. But most importantly, I think that taking its story seriously and treating its themes with respect was the true intention behind the story we'll be getting in Sonic Frontiers, and that is something that I would consider to be very valuable. Sonic Lost World, for instance, had, like I said, some jarring turns in its story where I don't know if it was multiple points of interest on the writer's part, but clearly somebody wanted to have some form of stakes to it. The issue, though, was they sort of spontaneously manifested, and it was like 0 to 100. We went from running around a colourful world, saving animals and joking on Eggman, to Eggman violently punching down a wall with his knuckles, bruising them, while saying that as long as he can still use them to strangle somebody to death, then he's still fine. Very poor tonal shift there. I think the main thing Sonic Frontiers is going to need to land in order to make this execution feel worthwhile is its characters. The premise is already going to be quite out there. We've got this cyber world, this mystery land, missing memories, and these giant titans that we've already seen are going to be quite extra in the way in which they are animated and how they attack Sonic the Hedgehog. So it's the characters that are really going to make or break. As we've seen with the game Shadow the Hedgehog, there were moments that are pretty good, but the issue was how it was hard for an audience to take them seriously and see them in a way the developers intended outside of being ironically funny, because the characters just were way too over the top from what we've seen before, and it made lines just not land the way I'm sure they were intended. So for Sonic Frontiers, it's going to be very important that the characters are written to be on character, which is maybe an issue because it's hard to define the modern Sonic cast's key character traits anymore. They've been eroded so heavily for the last 10 or so years that they barely have anything to them. We know Sonic's here, he's got amnesia, he's still going to try and radiate his energy even if he doesn't remember everything. But outside of him, assumedly he's the only one with amnesia, so how is Amy going to act? That's a big question. Is she going to be like she was in Lost World, where she was pretty pathetic, honestly, couldn't really do anything and just hoped Sonic would fix everything for her? Is she going to take after her Sonic heroes, where she's pursuing Sonic for a variety of reasons, not necessarily just out of love, but she's very bossy about it, very forward? Is she going to be like how she was in the Sonic Boom cartoon, where her personality was different every day? I have no idea. Knuckles the Echidna presumably will be involved since he's going to be in that animated short whenever that comes out. And if he's anything like he was in something like Team Sonic Racing, then it's going to be hard to take anything he does seriously. If he's a blundering fool during what's supposed to be a very tense, serious moment, it's not going to work. But the characters don't have much else beyond these flimsy traits. They could go back to the old stuff, but it's been so long that I'm not sure they're going to feel comfortable with it. Of course, like we said, Ian Flynn is involved here. He's not the only writing staff member, but he is involved, and he's been writing the characters for a long time, so he'll know all the different phases that those characters have been through. And from some of the interviews we've heard, I personally feel like he's been trying to subtly, or not so subtly, push Sega to having these characters resemble their past selves a little bit more than we've seen in recent games with some of their decisions, though we'll have to wait to see on that. To conclude, will Sonic Frontiers be edgy? Maybe, but I don't think it will be too dark. I think it's just going to try and tell its story the best way it can without making fun of itself, which isn't to say there will be no humour, but that it'll be less of it. That was all I had to say on the subject though. Please let me know what you feel in the comments down below. I'm sure that there are a variety of clashing opinions on something like this. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. It really does help out the channel, and it lets me know that you want to see more videos of this content. If you did enjoy it, please share it amongst your friends so that the discussion may grow. I hope you have a great day, and to see you next time. This is the Mighty Emperor, signing off.